So is artificial intelligence conscious? I mean, it's one of the biggest, most mind-bending questions of our time, right? Well, a recent scientific showdown just gave us a fascinating and honestly a really surprising new piece of the puzzle. Let's dive in and break down what they found.
In this quote, it gets right to the heart of everything we're about to talk about. It comes from a landmark study that basically draws a sharp line in the sand between the ability to do things and the experience of just being. And that distinction? Well, it could change everything we think we know about the mind.
So what exactly happened? Look, this wasn't just another small study tucked away in some lab. Oh no. This was a full-blown scientific showdown, specifically designed to put the leading theories of consciousness to the ultimate test, once and for all.
Okay, so this all came to a head in April 2025. After a massive 7-year-long experiment, researchers published their findings in the journal Nature, which is a huge deal. And trust me, the scientific community is still buzzing about what they discovered, and maybe even more about what they didn't discover.
And when I say massive, I mean it. This wasn't a small-scale thing. They brought in 256 human subjects, which is a pretty unprecedented number for this kind of deep-dive brain research. It makes the results incredibly hard to ignore. Yeah, they were really serious about getting answers.
Now, to really get what the results mean, we first need to meet the two main contenders in this fight. For years, you've had these two rival theories offering completely different explanations for where our consciousness actually comes from.
The whole debate really boils down to two simple analogies. On one side, you have the spotlight theory. The idea here is that consciousness is kind of broadcast from the front of your brain. And on the other side, you've got the teamwork theory, which argues it emerges from deep integration in the back of the brain. Let's take a closer look at each one.
Okay, first up is the Global Neuronal Workspace Theory, or GNWT for short. The easiest way to think about this one is like a stage. All this information is competing for a spotlight in our prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain that does all the planning and decision-making. Once a piece of info wins that spotlight, it gets broadcast to the rest of the brain, and bam, it pops into our conscious awareness.
Now, the rival theory, Integrated Information Theory, or IIT, is completely different. It says consciousness isn't a broadcast at all. Instead, it's this fundamental property that just emerges whenever information is deeply interconnected. The more integrated and interconnected a system is, the more conscious it is. It even proposes a way to measure this, a number they call phi.
So, you've got the showdown. You've got the two heavyweight theories. After 7 long years and hundreds of brain scans, the moment of truth finally arrived. But the verdict? Well, it was a massive plot twist that pretty much nobody saw coming.
I mean, everyone was on the edge of their seats, right? Was consciousness a spotlight from the front, or was it teamwork from the back? The data was in. The answer was finally here.
Yeah, incredibly, neither theory's main predictions held up. This result just sent a massive shockwave through the world of neuroscience. It turns out the reality of what's going on in our heads is way more complicated than either side had imagined.
So the really crucial part is why they failed. IIT, the teamwork theory, it predicted this constant synchronized hum of activity in the back of the brain. Well, the data just didn't show it. And then there's GNWT, this spotlight theory. It predicted a really powerful broadcast signal from the front of the brain, but that signal, it was surprisingly weak or sometimes just completely gone at key moments. Both theories were dealt a major blow.
And this brings us right back to that quote from the beginning. The study's biggest takeaway is that the prefrontal cortex, the brain's CEO, the part responsible for all our high-level reasoning and planning, it might not be the seat of consciousness after all. It really points to this fundamental split. Intelligence, what the brain does, looks like it's totally separate from consciousness, what it is to just be.
So, if consciousness isn't in the front of the brain, then where is it? Well, the evidence is now pointing us towards the back, to the areas that process what we see, what we hear, and what we feel. It suggests that our raw experience of the world, our perception, is actually closer to the core of consciousness than our complex thoughts about the world.
This new scientific direction is really fascinating because it doesn't just challenge our theories of the brain. It hooks right into a philosophical debate that's been raging for centuries, one that tries to answer a simple but profoundly difficult question.
And that question is what's called the hard problem of consciousness. It's not about how the brain crunches data. It's about why all that data processing feels like anything at all from the inside. Why do you have this private inner movie playing in your head?
this subjective texture of experience, the redness of red, the sharp sting of pain. That's what philosophers call qualia.
This whole debate is captured perfectly in two classic thought experiments. On one hand, you've got the Chinese room argument, which says a computer could learn to manipulate symbols like Chinese characters perfectly without having any real understanding of what they mean. It's just a simulation. But then the fading qualia argument pushes back. It says, okay, what if we slowly replaced your neurons with silicon chips that do the exact same job? Your behavior wouldn't change at all, so why would your inner feeling fade away? This suggests that maybe consciousness depends on the pattern, not what the pattern is made of.
Which, of course, brings us to the ultimate goal. If we can understand consciousness, can we build it? Armed with these new scientific clues and these very old questions, we are entering a totally new era in the quest for artificial minds.
So this is a widely discussed roadmap for artificial general intelligence, or AGI. Today's AI, like the large language models we use, they're at level 1, kind of like an unskilled human. But the path to level 5, superhuman, that's now a serious strategic goal for major labs around the world. The deep, profound question, though, is at which one of these levels, if any, does genuine consciousness just flicker into existence?
And to even get there, we might need entirely new kinds of computers. I'm not talking about the digital ones we use now. I'm talking about neuromorphic hardware, computers that are built to behave more like a biological brain, using spikes of energy to communicate, just like our own neurons do.
But the closer we get, the deeper we walk into an ethical minefield. Think about it. What's worse? The risk of creating a machine that is genuinely suffering, and we just ignore it because we don't believe it's conscious? Or the risk of giving rights and resources to an empty machine that's just a sophisticated mimic, possibly at our own expense? There are no easy answers here at all.
And so we end on the one question that is probably going to define our entire relationship with technology for the next century. The science now tells us consciousness might be rooted in perception, not intellect. Philosophy keeps asking if the inner feeling is real. But one day, we might not have the luxury of just debating it anymore. We might just have to decide.